Lying down with your knees bent, soles of your feet on the floor, maybe hands across your belly. And taking these first few moments of the class to arrive in your body. Feeling your day in your body. So rather than use a yoga practice to create a bubble separate from the trials and tribulations and joys of your day, can you incorporate everything into the practice so it becomes part of your living day and not an escape? So maybe feel some contraction or weight around your shoulders or a tightness in your belly, maybe tired eyes. Or maybe not, maybe you feel really light. The point is at the beginning of this practice to acknowledge and to nod to honor everything that's present for you right now. And whatever is present for you right now, you can't deny that there's a solidity, a stability of the surface beneath you. So take a few moments to acknowledge that relationship between the back of your body and the surface beneath you. Steady, solid, holding you. And asking yourself what you really need from this practice. And that's before I've told you in detail what we're going to be doing. It's still worth asking yourself, what do I really need right now? And then bring that quality as an intention into focus. I'm going to come into a little bit of a breathing practice. And the breathing practice is going to build on what we did on Monday morning by gently introducing the concept and the experience of two of our internal energy locks, our bandhas. So we've had a class earlier in the term, a month or so ago, which went full on into all the bandhas. And this is just a simpler introduction, because some of you didn't find it that accessible, that class. So to begin with, just feeling into the sensation of the breath in the nostrils. Maybe noticing that your chest and your abdomen expand with an in-breath, and then they drop inwards with each out-breath. And come to a sense of that flow of a simple breath. We're not trying to push anything or strive, not trying to stretch the breath. And then bringing your attention specifically to the bottom of your pelvis, your pelvic floor. Some of you may feel this is your perineum. So it's a muscular floor to the whole of the pelvic cavity. And notice as you inhale that there's a gentle pushing down and out through the pelvic floor, which might happen simultaneously to an expansion upwards in the chest. So just take a few breaths in and out, but with a focus on the inhale as pushing down on the pelvic floor at the same time as lifting brightly into the chest. And then next time you breathe in, focus more specifically on the exhale. And now there's going to be this slight lift up from the pelvic floor. It could almost be like a very gentle contraction of your anus, not really strong. I like to imagine a little thread internal to the body that's lifting the pelvic floor up in towards my navel. So for some people, that's going to be very easy to notice. It's not a sharp contraction. It's almost just like a light being shone there, an awareness of this gentle lift up. It's a slight engagement of the depths of your abdominal core. And continue here, breathing in as you soften and push out through the pelvic floor. Slight brightening in the chest. And then breathing out a gentle tugging upwards. You might feel your chest moving down towards your solar plexus. So everything comes in towards the center. Breathing in, pushing out. Breathing out, a little bit of a tug. So this is our mula bandha. It's our root lock, which is very much connected with the Muladhara chakra. So the root word is mula, which means root. And it connects us very much to the earth element and to an ability to be very solid and stable, energetically speaking, in our practice. Can you take a few more breaths and not worrying at all if this is just gobbledygook for you, and trying not to contract too much because this will just bring in tension. And some of you who are more used to this practice can continue the flow of the breath in and out whilst retaining this slight lift of the Muladhara, the Mula Bandha rather. So those of you who are used to an Ashtanga practice, for example, will know that you can hold the Mula Bandha throughout the practice whilst the rest of the body flows and the breath flows. Just a few more breaths here. And then letting all of that go, just softening the pelvic floor, forgetting the direction of the breath and just feeling the body. You can even slip your feet away for a moment. So that was just an introductory breathing practice. And we're going to come to a kneeling position now. If you'd like to kneel, if this isn't comfortable for you, you could place something to sit back on if there's a little bit of pressure in your knees. This is a slow class. Saturday will be a much faster flow, but this is quite an intense class in many ways. And so see if you can keep that focus. We've just worked with the Mula Bandha. We'll bring the Udiyana Bandha in a little bit later in the practice. Just keep that focus with that little tugging up and pushing down as you breathe in and out. And we're going to bring some movement into the upper body. So on the next inhale, as you roll your shoulders up to your ears, take your arms out beside you at quite a sharp angle close to the body. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. And as you exhale, scoop the front body into the back body as you bring your arms round, palms touching. And as you inhale, do the same thing. So you tilt the pelvis forwards now, but your arms are a bit higher and a little bit of a squeeze of the shoulder blades. And as you exhale, you scoop in, chin to the chest, navel to the spine. And then we keep coming up like arms of a clock, maybe 3 and 6 o'clock now. Opening the chest, feel right out energetically to your fingertips. And exhale, come back in. And then come up a notch here, inhale. It's a little bit of a flow for the spine, a squeeze of the shoulder blades, and exhale, push your shoulder blades out behind you. And then come up a notch, inhale. And exhale, scoop. And then last time, inhale. Feel that back bend, feel out to your fingertips. And now exhale, scoop, and then rock forward, slide your hands down in front of you to come into a child's pose, an extended child's pose, maybe taking your knees out a little bit to release the belly and the chest down. And breathe here. We're going to take 5 deep breaths and we're going to exhale with an open mouth. So breathing in. Breathe out, open mouth. You could be breathing ujjayi if you like. And breathing in. And breathing in. Last time, breathing in. And then lifting yourself up to all fours. Making sure your knees are underneath your hips and taking your hands out so they're mat distance apart. And walking your arms forwards to come down into a brief anahatasana, a brief heart-melting pose. So your chest comes down towards the mat and you might be on your forehead or your chin. Now, if this is a lot of strain on the shoulders, you could bring your elbows down, take your hands behind your head, or you could even bring your forehead to your hands. I like to hold onto the outer edges of my mat to really, really release down between the shoulder blades. It's just such a wonderful release for the thoracic spine. So many of us get really hunched up because of so much computer work and tension and weight we hold on our shoulders and upper backs. Take a few more breaths. There should be no pain. There should be no pain. You might feel it's quite an intense sensation, but no pain. And you might also experience a nice lengthening in the side body from your hip crease to your armpit here. Beautiful. One more full breath in and a long breath out. And then gently pushing yourself back to a brief child's pose just to soften into the shoulders. You could even take your arms around the body here. Just allowing your shoulders to drop, your forehead to melt. Eyes to soften. And then in your own time, meeting me back in an all fours position. And we'll use a very familiar cat-cow movement to become a little bit more acquainted with the udiyana bandha. So the best way that I like to describe the udiyana bandha is as a floating bird of prey, a floating hawk that floats up and under your ribs. So the sensation you have is a little pulling in from your belly button towards the spine, but then a scooping up. Imagine this like a vacuum, a hawk's flying up underneath your ribs. And the best way to access this is on the exhalation again. So bear with me in this little tutorial and then we'll bring it more into the flow of the class. On an inhale, dip the spine, really widen in the hips and open the chest. So everything's open, the pelvic floor is open, the navel is open. But then as you exhale, very consciously scoop everything up. And you might be engaging your mula bandha, but for now, bring your navel in towards the spine and scoop it up under the ribs and hold it for a moment like in a little vacuum. It's quite a squeeze. And then breathe in, let go and release forwards into your cow. And again, concentrating on the udiyana bandha, the navel sucking up to the spine and under the ribs. Hold there for a second. And then inhale, release. So if it's familiar and quite easy for you, you could bring the mula bandha, the root lock from the bottom, and the udiyana bandha, the floating hawk, in together. So these are the only two locks we're going to work with today, and they're very powerful, but very subtle at the same time. They don't really coincide with the physiology of the body as much as the subtle body, the energy body. So take 5 more movements like this, where you inhale and you release everything open. And then you exhale and you scoop up the pelvic floor and underneath the ribs. If you want to breathe ujjayi, that lovely rasping ocean breath on the back of the throat, then please go ahead. Really good to pause at the top of the inhalation and at the end of the exhalation, just to accentuate the effect. I'm taking 2 more, I don't know about you. It's really lovely to be back teaching again. Thank you so much for coming. Last one, breathing in. And on the breath out, curl your toes under and come up to a downward dog. And can you feel a little bit of suction, a little bit of pulling up underneath the ribs as you hold here? And then let go. Take a breath in and a breath out. And we're going to move between downward dog and plank very mindfully, very slowly, feeling these 2 energy locks. And if the energy lock, the bandha work, is just too much to focus on, the physical practice is fine as it is. So breathing as you lift your heels off the floor. And with the breath in now, scoop forwards, feeling the lift from the pelvic floor and the integrity of the abdomen. And then on the exhale, come back and scoop underneath the ribs. Let's do that again. Breathe in, come forwards. And breathe out, scoop everything up and hold. One more time, breathe in. It's quite strong for the upper body. And breathe out, scoop back. And then just release any hold you've had on your bandhas and just breathe naturally here for 3 breaths, extending and really dropping the forehead down as if you're trying to touch the floor, widening your hips. Breathing. One more breath in. And then breathing out, drop your knees. And keep your toes curled under here as you come to sitting on your heels. So having a little bit of a toe stretch, a little bit of a work into the plantar fascia. You might want to use your fingers to separate your toes a little, so that maybe they're all pressing into the mat, maybe not. And I'm going to turn my back to you to just show you what I'd like you to do with your arms. We're coming back also to a little bit of shoulder opening. So as you inhale, take your arms out, palms facing behind you. And then exhale, bring your hands behind the back, to the back of the ribs. Now some of you might like to hold on to your elbows. Some of you might be able to place the backs of your hands on your ribs with the fingertips pointing upwards. And we're going to come to that same flexion and extension of the spine, but working with our hands like butterfly wings. So inhaling, tilt the pelvis forwards, maybe your hands come together. And exhaling, tilt the pelvis back, chin to your chest. So you may notice that this is quite a strain on the feet, but we're becoming absorbed in this movement in the upper body at the same time. Let's take a few more. If the feet are unbearable, just release the toes. I'm not a sadist, at least not completely. Just opening and closing your hands like butterflies as you tilt the pelvis, opening the heart and then closing in again. Do one more. Inhale. Exhale. And then float the arms down. Take the hands forwards to the mat, and yeah, you can release the toes. And have a little pitter-patter here. And then curling your toes under. Widen your hips as you come back up to a delicious downward dog. And take a few breaths. You might like to bend your knees and take your hips from side to side. Whatever you feel you need to really feel into the whole of your skin. And then with the mind to your root lock, pelvic floor and the udiyana bandha coming up under the ribs. Pull yourself forwards into a plank. And holding here, exhale. So you won't feel the udiyana bandha so much here. It's just an awareness that we're coming to. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, drop your knees. And then drop your chest and your chin to the floor. Breathe in, slide your knees away. As you peel the chest up, head comes up last. And then breathing out, come down. Curling under your toes, push yourself up to all fours, inhale, exhale, downward dog. Slow, slow warming up, limbering here. Take a breath in. And then drop your knees again for our second and last round of toe stretch. And a different shoulder and upper body opening pose. So take time to make sure you're really feeling into the soles of your feet. You're spreading your toes. And taking your arms out wide. Inhale. And exhale, sweeping the right arm over the left for Virabhadrasana arms, eagle arms. If you can't wrap your forearms together, use the crook of the left elbow to pull the right arm across. So you're sitting back on your heels. Can you soften the sideways, the front of the lower front ribs? And then hitch your shoulders up to your ears. Inhale and exhale, release. Lifting your hands away from your face. You can feel the feet, right? I'm sure you're loving this. Marianne is just for you. Oh, you can even wriggle around a little bit here to feel what you need around the back of the ribs and the shoulders. And then inhale, opening out. See if you can stay on your toes, and as you bring the left arm over for Virabhadrasana on the left. Breathing here. Breathing here, shoulders up and then sliding away. Softening the front ribs, softening the sideways. Wonderful. Just a couple more breaths. You can even move your head around a little bit here. One more breath in, and then release the hands down. Release your toes. How alive do your feet and your toes feel now? And have a little bit of a pitter-patter. And then curling your toes. Let's actually do that bandha work with holding the out breath to come up. So take a breath in and dip the spine, so open out into your cow. Exhale, scoop everything up. So you're lifting from your pelvic floor, lifting up and under the ribs, and hold the breath out. And on that breath out, come up to a downward dog and still hold, feeling that suction. Feeling the suction. So it's no good if you've had your tea. Obviously, at some point you need to breathe in. And then looking in between your hands and walk, step or jump your feet forwards. And inhale into a flat back. And exhale here. Take another inhale and feel a real extension from your sitting bones right out through the top of your head. And now as you exhale, come down over your legs and scoop up under the ribs again. It's a good one. Uttanasana is good for Udiyana Bandha. And take a couple of breaths in between moving here. So come up to a flat back inhale. Finding that length, and exhale, scoop under as you come all the way down. And inhale, release and flatten. And exhale, scoop under. And then pressing through your feet, inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, hands down to the heart space. Take a moment now, one hand across the heart, one hand across the belly, just to feel the body. So sometimes when we work on the bandhas in this way, it's quite technical and you might feel quite agitated. I just want you to come back to an easy breath now, just to connect. And we'll come into a couple of rounds of sun salutation, just to bring a bit of easy flow into the body. So I'm not going to talk about the bandhas or the locks, but if you can keep that integrity, that awareness all the way through your practice. Inhaling, lifting up. And exhale, swan dive down. And inhale to a flat back. And exhale, step or jump back to plank. Take an extra breath in. Exhale, drop your knees, your chest and your chin. Inhale, slide your knees away as you peel the chest up. Head comes last. Curl your toes under. Exhale, downward dog. Taking 5 breaths to explore any aspect of the downward dog that you would like to right now. And if you're feeling tired and your body's telling you to soften and back off, come and rest in child's pose, it's okay. And then on the next inhalation, looking forwards and stepping or jumping and inhaling straight to a flat back. And exhale, draw yourself down, maybe engaging those 2 bandhas, maybe not. And then pressing into your feet, breathing in. Come all the way up. And breathe that hands down to your chest. Wonderful. Breathing in, arms up. And breathing out, sit back into Utkatasana. Sit back into your chair. Sideways to pulled back. Inhale, arms up by your ears. And exhale, fall into the forward fold. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, step or jump to plank and take an inhale here. And you can either drop your knees, chest, chin, or maybe now it's time to come down straight as a sit. And inhale, peel up the chest, roll the shoulders back. Exhale, downward dog. Take your left foot down at 45 degrees and step your right foot forwards for warrior 1. And really firming through your feet into the ground. Breathe in, come up. Maybe now you can feel part of the integrity of your pose requires that gentle tug up from the pelvic floor, that awareness at the navel scooping up and under the ribs. And then taking your arms out to the side and behind you, inhale. And exhale, come over your leg, arms out to the side. And inhale, come up. And exhale, come down. And inhale, come up. And exhale, come down. Lifting up your back heel. And then just for fun, pour your weight into the front foot as the back leg lifts off and I'm about to fall into my plant. And really enliven the toes of the lifted leg. Drop that left hip, and can you take a couple of breaths in Warrior 3. So we've just moved from Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1 to Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. Take a breath in and then breathing out gently. Bring yourself back to Warrior 1. Well done. Lift up the back heel. Bring your hands to the mat. Slide the front foot back to plank. Take a breath in. Choose your way down to the mat. Scooping up for your little back bend. Inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Take your right foot down at 45 degrees. Step your left foot forwards. Now really ground down through your feet and sweep up. Pelvic floor, udiyana bandha. Warrior 1. Feel the strength, but also the integrity of this pose. Tailbone drops under. Taking your arms out into a T shape. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and exhale, come forward as if you're shooting out over that front knee. And then inhale, come up. Arms out wide and exhale, really strong back leg. Last time, inhale, exhale. Lifting up the back heel. Now really, you know what's coming now. Pour the weight into your front foot, come up onto that right big toe and lift off. And really enliven those right toes. Drop the right hip as you breathe in your Warrior 3. Pushing out through that back heel. You can bend a little bit, micro bend the left knee. One more breath in. And on the breath out, lightly drop back into your Warrior 1. Take a breath in, lift the back heel. Come back down to plank. Take a breath in. Come down to the mat your way. Breathe and peel up. And now it's Yogini's choice. Yogi's choice. You either scoot back to pose of the child, or you come and take 5 breaths in the downward dog. Feel the body expanding and a little bit of retraction on the exhale. And then everybody, if you're not there already, coming to rest in a wide knee child's pose. So taking your knees quite far apart. And bringing your hands maybe underneath your forehead. And now letting go of all focus and allowing yourself to simply breathe and be for a few breaths. Maybe drawing yourself back to your intention for your practice if you have one. I hope you're all doing okay. And then gently coming back to an all fours position and coming back to a downward dog. So you're probably feeling quite warm, quite limbered now. And we're going to come to some quite traditional poses, just a couple, with the same focus that we've been practicing on. So this grounding down and the slight uplift at the same time. So looking in between your hands, maybe you'd like to lift up the right leg to give you a little bit of a three-legged downward dog, coming up onto your left toes, and then sweep the right foot in between your hands, lovely, and bring the left heel down. So we're coming to Parsvakonasana, side angle pose. The front heel is in line with the back instep. So stepping up first of all, you can even straighten your legs. So I want you to really feel that grounding, feel the pelvic floor. Inhale, and then exhale, bend into the front knee and bring the elbow to the knee to begin with. And then as you inhale, peel open the left arm. And exhale, you might feel a little bit of a tug and a pull from your navel underneath the ribs. And we're going to stay for about 3 more breaths. You have the option of keeping your arm vertical. You might bring your arm over your head. All the time though, you have this internal integrity. You might bring your right hand down to the floor. Could be inside or outside the foot, and you might be spinning your chest around to the left. Now, can you feel the groundedness of this pose and the simultaneous brightening and lightening and expanding outwards and upwards? One more breath in. As you breathe out, look down at the front foot. Take both hands around the front foot, lift the back heel. Move your right foot a little bit to the right, so you're no longer walking a tightrope. And we're going to come up. Hands interlaced, 4 fingers out in front into Ashta-chandrasana variation. You might want to bend that back knee a little, maybe straighten. Tuck the tailbone under. Keep that lift, keep that integrity. And inhale, lift your arms up over your head. And exhale here, maybe a little bit of a back bend. And feel the fire in your solar plexus. Your Manipura chakra, this is the center of the ego, center of our self-image, what we also give out to the world, how we receive. Now, can you from here bounce forwards into Warrior 3 again? See what happens with no self-judgment. I'll probably fall into the plant. Pouring your weight into the front leg, floating the back leg up. And as you shoot forwards with your fingers, push back with the back heel. Breathe. One more inhalation. Exhale, bring your hands down, maybe lift up into a little bit of a standing split, but nothing too serious. And then gently drop the left foot back. So you're in a low runner's lunge. Draw the front foot back to downward dog. Inhale forwards to plank. Exhale, come down to the mat your way. Inhale, scoop up. Exhale, back to a downward dog. And then lifting your right heel off the floor, lifting your left leg up for 3-legged downward dog. Lift from the navel, inhale. And exhale, step forwards. And drop the right heel. Make sure that your left heel is towards the instep of the right foot. Gently come up. Inhale here. And then exhale, bend into that front knee. Elbow to the knee. And inhale, reach up. Really spin the chest. Rooting down through the feet. Maybe bring the left hand down. Maybe not. Inhale. Exhale, maybe the right hand comes over the ear. And take a couple of breaths with an intention to have those internal locks as part of your practice. and softening the face. There's quite a lot of effort here. How might it feel to soften into that effort? Spin the chest to the right. One more inhale. Exhale, look down. Take both of your hands around the front foot and move it to the left as you lift the back heel. And come up to your Chandrasana, crescent lunge with your hands out in front of you. Wonderful, dropping the tailbone, drawing the sideways back. And inhale, lift your arms as you straighten that front leg. And exhale, feel the belly, feel the navel, the solar plexus. Feel your power. And then when you're ready, floating, in a way much more elegant than I just did, into Warrior 3. Because I've got these plants here, there's no room in this room. Really enlivening your right toes, drop the right hip. And pull through your hands as you push through the back foot. I brought my hands down, but you don't need to. Are you still feeling that integrity of your abdomen internally? One more inhale. Exhale, drop your hands. Inhale, lift the back leg. Lift it from the navel for a little bit of a standing split. And then float the foot back. Come back to a downward dog. And here you have a choice of staying in downward dog, of dropping your knees and taking a well-deserved rest in child, or of taking a vinyasa. So vinyasa would be that you ripple forwards to plank, you come down to the mat your way, you lift your chest into a little bit of a cobra, and then you come back to downward dog, simply to join me and maybe some of the rest of you in a resting child's pose now. Come back to your breath. Maybe you feel you've generated quite a lot of heat. I want to try another variation of side angle pose to really enhance any opening that we've begun to experience in the shoulders, the upper body. But how about the invitation here, and I'm saying it as much to me, myself, as to you. How about coming into this pose with an intention of only going at it about 60%? And I really mean that. I really mean that. So gently bring yourself to a downward dog. And step your right foot forwards, left heel down. And gently come up. So we're not flowing now, we're just going to experience this pose. And in fact, what I'll do is give you the beauty of the back of my body. I'm under no false illusions here, so that I can show you what it's like to bind, in case you've not done this before. So coming down, strong back leg, maybe your right thigh is coming to be parallel with the floor. And you're going to take your right arm, right hand to the floor. You're going to turn your thumb inwards so that you can thread the arm underneath the leg. And so a lot of people are going to come up into a wedgie. I'd like to bring your arm much closer. You should be pretty close to the shoulder, right to the knee end of the thigh, so that you can wrap the arm around. So if you're only a little way, that's fine. And then you're going to sweep your left arm up, turn the thumb inwards, and see if you can hold the hands, or just see how far you can come. It doesn't matter. And then from the ground, really from the ground, begin to spin to the left, draw the left shoulder back, and see if you can look up over the shoulder. So this is an all-round upper body and lower body stretch, as well as building stamina. It's a bound Parsvakonasana, bound side angle pose. And if you can manage to include the bandhas in this, it might help a sense of stability and integrity in the pose. How's your breath? One more inhale. And then release the bind on the exhale, both hands around the front foot. Lift the back heel. And just because we can, let's lift up into our high crescent lunge. Now, I don't really feel like doing this, but if you wanted to, you could take one final go. Well, actually, I'm going to do it. No, I'm not. Into Warrior 3. One final go of pouring your weight into the front foot as you lift the left leg up. Enlivening the toes and the fingers, dropping in that left hip. Just pushing and pulling, extending the body. And then dropping yourself back. Coming to a downward dog. And bringing your left foot forwards. Right foot comes down. Turn your left thumb around inside and weave it under the leg, thread it under the leg. Taking your right arm over, turning the thumb inwards. Maybe your hands meet, maybe they don't. And then from the stability of the ground, from your navel and your pelvic floor, begin to twist. So what an amazing pose to explore the relationship between the root and the expansion. This is how we can live our lives firmly grounded, but expanding out in all directions, alive and awake and alert. One more inhale. And then exhale, drop both hands down. Lift the back heel. If you want to, come up to your high crescent lunge. Feel the high crescent lunge and decide if you want to come forwards into Warrior 3. Lifting the back leg, dropping that left hip and extending out through the fingers and through the foot. Amazing. One more breath in. And then from here, dropping your hands, dropping the back foot, coming to a downward dog. So we're coming down to the mat. You have a choice. 5 breaths in downward dog, 5 breaths in child, or taking a final vinyasa. Coming down to the mat, scooping up. Coming to downward dog or child's pose, and we'll all meet in a child's pose for a few breaths now. A few breaths to soften. If you want to exhale with an open mouth, go ahead. The idea is to let go, and we change tempo now. Coming down to some very gentle unwinding poses on the mat. Stay very close now. Stay very close to your breath, to sensations in the body, any emotions that might have bubbled up. I personally found that quite hard. It's really interesting with yoga, isn't it? Over the last 2 weeks of doing other things, I've only had a very soft practice. It's been very meditative, a lot of breathing, but I haven't done the strength and stamina work, and it really shows. I can really feel it immediately. But I'm sure all of you have been practicing much more than me, so you probably feel much stronger than I do right now. And I've been carrying boxes, moving house, all those sorts of things. Breathe. And slowly, slowly coming up. And you might now like to, as you bring your legs out in front of you, sit up on a cushion or the edge of a block to come into a butterfly pose. So we don't want to be slumping out in the lower back. You want to be able to rock the pelvis forwards a little bit. Soles of your feet are together, about 2 hand lengths from the groin. Knees out to the side. Take a breath in and feel your sitting bones rooting down. Let's forget the bandhas now. Let's forget all of those focuses, if you like, and just come to soothing the body. So breathing and lengthen the spine, and as you breathe out, gently surrender, release forwards. And although this might not be happening literally, the energetic pull is between the forehead and the feet. Now that doesn't mean you yank yourself into that position, it's just an orientation. And then soften the whole body. There's nothing to achieve here. All the strength is gone. Allow yourself to melt into your butterfly. Now it's a great time to notice how soft the back, the front and the sides of your neck and throat are. Maybe opening your mouth to feel a slight unhinging of the jaws. The softness behind your eyes, forehead and temples, deep into the inner ears. As you melt a little into butterfly. Stay close. Stay close. And then very gently pushing into your hands to straighten your arms and reassemble your spine. I feel really good. Hope you do. I didn't about 10 minutes ago. Then we come into Baddha Konasana, which is a much tighter version of what we've just done. So you bring your feet together, but as far in towards the groin as is possible. Much more of a stretch in the inner thighs. And you might even want to take your hands behind you and lift up, so that when you sit down, you're aiming to sit in front of your sitting bones, lightly holding your feet. And let's take a few breaths here to experience the ground beneath us. And the smile in the face and in the collarbones and an open heart. We're connected to the earth, but we expand up and out in all directions. Beautiful, steady breathing. Beautiful, steady breathing now. And you might like this upright Baddha Konasana, and that's absolutely fine, you stay there. Maybe after a nice long, tall inhale, to release the upper body forwards, curling in on yourself, chin into the chest. And feeling a little bit of an opening behind the ribs, the whole of the back curling in as you breathe. As you breathe. Very soft, maybe observing if your contracting, holding on in any areas of the body. And inviting softness in now. The rest of the practice is soft. Soft, soft, soft. And gently straightening up the spine and keeping your right leg bent as you extend the left leg out to the left. It's about a 45-degree angle from the midline. And just making sure that you can feel a sense of release down through both hips. Now, usually we would turn over towards the left, but actually this time we're turning the torso round to the right with a hand on either side of the knee, arms straight. So it's a little bit of a twist over the right thigh and the right knee. And take a breath in to look for length in the spine and a really beautiful open chest and collarbones. And then begin to release down over the bent leg, maybe extending out through your hands or coming down on your forearms. And see what happens to this left hip. It might start gripping. You might want to give it a little invitation to soften. As you just melt into the hips and you melt your shoulders. Feel very close to the earth here. Very close to the earth. Where are you holding on? There's no muscular work here. There's nowhere to hold on here. It's about softness and subtlety and aliveness to every cell of the body. Breath and sensation alive. Pushing into your hands to straighten your arms as you come up a little way. And we're going to come into a slightly strange pose that some of you will have done on Monday with me. You can take your right hand and you're going to thread it under the left so that your right shoulder might come down onto the right inside knee. Or maybe if you've got more room to maneuver, your right shoulder comes all the way down to the floor. And your right arm is outstretched. I think I'm off camera right now. Maybe I should come back a bit actually. So your right arm is outstretched. And your left arm is going to lift up to vertical. So as I explained on Monday, the metaphor that the teacher I was with used here was a sailing metaphor. So the arm on the floor is the boom of your sail. And the lifted arm, the left arm, is your mast. So if you can picture that, if that helps, it doesn't really help me because I'm not into boats, but if it helps you, see if you can really enjoy dropping into the right shoulder. And your eyes could look towards your right hand on the floor, or maybe you want to twist your neck as well and look up towards the left hand. But I would invite softness, no strain. And see how much you can soften here. Breathe. One more breath in. And then breathe out, bring your left hand down beside the right knee. And as you breathe in, you push into that left hand and you unthread your right arm. Come back the way you came and take both hands outside the knee. And take a little bit of a push into your fingertips as you lift your chest and you come into a mini back bend. Nothing too strong. Just an opening across the collarbones, a sliding of the shoulder blades down the back. Dropping into that left hip. One more breath in. And then releasing back to the front. Taking a moment to feel the body before we take those poses to the other side. So now you bring your left leg in, take your right leg out. Just allow the right leg to be nice and soft. We're not engaging it by pulling the toes towards us. And turning your torso round to the left. And breathe in, find length. And breathe out. Coming down to the left, really soft, as close as you want to, towards the floor. And notice any parasitic gripping in the right hip, and just say to the hip, you know what, you don't need to do anything here, just let go. Inner thigh soft. Back of the neck, the forehead, the tongue. Breathe and soften and let go. And then gently pushing into your hands to straighten your arms and bring your hands a little way towards you so that you can thread the left arm through. So your left shoulder, you might be tighter or more relaxed on this side. See how low down you can bring the shoulder. This is the boom of your sail. I think I'd be in a very wonky boat probably. Maybe your left shoulder's on the floor, maybe not. And then lift up your mast, your right arm, little bit of a twist. But the most important thing is that you're melting down to that right shoulder and arm. And breathe here. Breathe here, maybe looking up or down. And soften where you can, aware of the whole body. The whole body is implicated in this pose, not just the parts that are most obvious. Can you notice that? One more breath in. And then as you breathe out, slide the right hand back down. Thread the left arm back. And take that mini back bend, It should feel quite nice, quite soothing. Coming round to face the front. Now bringing your right leg over. As you slide your left foot further to the right. So we're coming into Gomkhasana legs, cow face legs, with both of your knees stacked upon each other. Now, if this isn't happening for you and you're all hooked up, you can't feel both your sitting bones, please release the left leg out underneath the right into a half version. And take a moment here to feel the ground. Feel the ground through your buttocks, your sitting bones, your hips. And maybe you stay upright or maybe you come down forwards for a couple of breaths. Very soft again. When you come forwards, it might add a little bit more intensity to the right iliotibial band down the outside of the right thigh or right into the right buttock and hip. Maybe you can feel that now. There's a sense of contracting inwards of the hips here in the inner thighs. And you might like to stay here, and that's completely fine. Or you might like to, in the spirit of an earlier part of the class, involve your upper body. So lifting up the left arm, spreading out your fingers and taking the hand behind your head. So we're not going to try to come into the full pose unless it's there for you. We're just tickling down at the bottom of the neck, maybe towards the space in between the shoulder blades. You might like to take your right arm out and just like we did in that bound side angle pose, turn the thumb down to internally rotating the shoulder, sweep the arm behind. So I'm not in a mood to try anything too strong right now. So both of my hands are behind, but my fingertips aren't touching. I know I can do that if I wanted to, but I'm not going to right now. Partly because I want to really release down through the hips. So I'm not even suggesting using a belt because this is much more symbolic. We're just having a little bit of awareness in the shoulders, a little bit of a squeeze as we root down in the lower body. And notice if you're holding your breath or if you can soften, remove the effort and simply soften and breathe. It's fine to take your head out of the way. One more breath in. And then release the arms. Take a moment. And we're simply going to change the cross of the legs so that the right leg comes under the left. And it may be that you came into the half version with the right leg extended. Or maybe you've come into the full version. Please don't compromise though for an idea of what you think the pose should look like. It's much more important that you can release down through the hips and the sitting bones here. That is what matters. And breathe and feel. Just notice what's happening for you, not what I say, what's happening for you. And if you want to come forwards, notice that it might be a lot tighter on this side. It definitely is for me. And soften and deepen and breathe and be. If you want to recall your intention, your focus, then go ahead. And either stay down or come up for the arm pose where we lift now the right arm. Take the hand behind, take the left arm out, turn the thumb down. And you might be different on this side. For me, it's very easy to hold on to the fingers on this side. So I'm not compromising myself here. I'm finding this at ease. So I didn't on the other side, so I didn't push it. Please listen to your body and see if you can soften and smile into the pose. And breathe. One more breath in. And then gently releasing. Taking a moment to feel the body. And taking your legs out, not as wide as they can go, just about a 45-degree angle. And root down through the sitting bones. Breathe in and lift up. And as you breathe out, slide your hands down the legs as far as feels right for you. This is not about touching the toes or holding the feet unless that's what you want to do. And then soften into the pose. This is not a tight, engaging pose. It's just softening and releasing as we come to the end of our physical practice. Can you melt down into the hips? And where can you soften? How easy is it to breathe right now? And then gently coming up. With your legs still apart, taking your hands behind you. Lifting the chest and really pushing the pelvis forwards as you squeeze the shoulder blades together. Just take a few breaths. You can pour your weight down into your hands, maybe take your head back. And then straightening the spine, chin comes in as you bring your feet in, feet underneath your knees. And we just lift into tabletop. Trying to lift your side waist, your hips. Maybe your head comes back. Now feel the strength as you hug everything inwards. The solidity, the power of your body. You've worked every nook and cranny of your body in this practice. Take a breath in. And then breathe out. Release the hips down. And either come to a seated meditation or coming down to a very well-deserved Shavasana. And if I were you, because I'm feeling it in my neck, before you come to stillness, take a few gentle rolls of the head, really pressing the head into the mat from side to side. A little bit of a massage for the head, but also releasing the neck. Until you're ready. There's no hurry, until you're ready to come to stillness. And I'm very, very grateful that the Zoom didn't collapse. I'm very, very grateful that you've all stayed with me. And although I'm going to end the class, I would recommend that you have a 10-minute Shavasana to completely absorb all the benefits of what we've been doing and not to jump up into your evening and shake up the energy. Rest deeply before you mindfully come off your mat and go into the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for coming. There'll be another Hatha Flow class at 7:20 in the morning. And you'll see I've been asking for very specific feedback because I know that not everyone can come to the classes as we've had them this week. But we're in a transition, literally with the house and everything, but we all are. We're all in transition at the moment. So let me know how your lives are, what you need, and we'll see how we can adapt next week's practice, next week's schedule. Lots and lots of love to all of you, and have a lovely evening. Thank you again.